Hello, everyone. It's Philosopher's Poet. Today, I have a very special guest called Self Worx. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Amanda Kay, and I guess I am the face of Self Worx, and I'm super excited to be doing this online Zoom with Nathan at the Philosopher's Poet. Thank you so much for having me.
We actually have quite an interesting story in how we met. We were actually at a festival in Finsbury Park, and Amanda was rolling down a hill. Then we started talking, and then we were like, "Okay, I really love what your page is about, and so let's work together." And let's. I think we can add a lot of value and give something back. That's hugely important. So yeah, I liked what she was about and the energy and her purpose. Yeah.
It was weird how it was, it was interesting how conversations can actually start from the mere act of me being silly at this festival and rolling down a hill. I think what happened was I was rolling down the hill, and then did you offer to film it, or did I ask you to film it? Did you just happen to be there with a camera?
I can't remember, but I was with some mates, and I think somehow I ended up filming it. I think you wanted someone to film it, and I was like, yeah, I'll record it for you. Yeah,
That's it. You stepped in. You
yeah,
stepped in.
yeah,
I remember that. And then you filmed it, and then I asked you for the footage, and then we started talking, and you started telling me about the Philosopher's Poet and your outlook, and I started speaking about my material, and I was like, well, you know what, it's great to do collabs these days, especially with like-minded individuals
yeah,
that kind of have a similar outlook
yeah,
on life and the content that they want to kind of contribute to life and society. And we kind of we had different angles, but we
yeah.
had kind of similar ideas. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I think the way I almost see it is like my writing is sort of a microcosm of the work you do with the body and the sort of breath work. And likewise, the other way around, the work you do of the body and breath work in terms of self-awareness is sort of almost like a microcosm of what I do with the pen or or typewriter. They're quite symbiotic in a way. They're different expressions of trying to get someone to become or understand their true self.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting way to put it, because I mean, I think you do it, it's quite like, I think your process, Philosopher's Poet, is quite it's quite intellectual and quite cerebral in its process. And I kind of feel like your angle is that you find, quote me if I'm wrong, but the way that I've seen your work and your videos and your poetry, it's like you find self-discovery within the words, within
yeah,
finding the words, and it's kind of this like beautiful unfolding of words that sort of brings beautiful meaning to a self-expression and to meaning of life. That's
yeah.
how I experienced your work.
Yeah, and it can be about anything, because not everything is sunshine and rainbows. And as much as we want everything to be about love and light, we need to confront the shadow aspect. So sometimes
Mm.
it can be seemingly mundane, but it has huge importance. It can be incredibly loaded because it has to be, because those so-called mundane matters are really just a sort of almost like a microcosm of something that much bigger. You know how um the idea of looking at something in a microscope, you know, can be observed as something in the skies of the universe. So it's really important, sort of the gravity of something. Just because the picture is much larger doesn't mean the principles don't apply. They often talk about the idea of as above, so below. So the things we do, even the small things we do on an everyday basis, can be observed in society, like they're a reflection of who we are, the sort of the reasons why we do things, even the things that consciously don't seem to have any deep thought within them. So it's yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. When as you were speaking, the thought that kind of sort of popped into my head, you're sort of telling about expressing the good, the ugly, the light, the dark, and finding meaning through those words. And as you were speaking, the word that came to my mind was mindfulness. And when we think of mindfulness, you know, we can think of meditation and techniques and breathing, which is actually what Self Worx is about. There's so much material and so many exercises that I have created, that are mindfulness exercises, using the body, using the breath work. But I think what's interesting with you is that whilst you're discovering and creating and finding meaning and depth within the words and within the poetry, that, interestingly enough, is its own form of mindfulness.
Yes, yeah, almost a form of meditation sometimes for me.
Absolutely. And as you say, as you do it through the words, finding sort of that sort of meditative zone, as it were, and that mindfulness through the creation and through this beautiful unfolding of words, I'm finding through Self Worx exercises, through the breathing and the meditation and the body work, it is in its own way meditative, and it is in its own way mindful
Yeah.
as well.
So I'm really interested in the background to your story and how you came to realize your purpose and you know, the real barriers and challenges, how you overcame. You've got a really compelling background and you know, a lot of strength, yeah, comes through.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's so wonderful to hear. Yeah, I mean, it's I have you know, my whole, it's just a crazy life story. And I always say to a lot of my friends and colleagues, it's like, oh my gosh, like I feel like my life is a movie. And I think that I've experienced so much in my life, and so much in my life has been so much about massive success and incredible failure, um, incredible highs and incredible lows. And it's these polar opposites of this life experience, that has kind of, you know, brought me where I am today. So actually, what happened with the idea with Self Worx is that I went through a very traumatic childhood, which was extremely dark and extremely painful, and there was a lot of suffering involved. And I think what happens is when a lot of children go through a lot of trauma, they end up trying to self-soothe themselves in many ways. And the way in which I try to self-soothe myself was through, you know, drugs and alcohol. And then I went through the process of recovery. And what's interesting in the AA process is that in order for, once the person goes into recovery, they have to have a routine, as it were, so they don't sort of fall off the bandwagon again. And what ended up happening with me is that I kind of started developing my own program, so I didn't relapse, as it were. But it was kind of this, the program that I ended up developing for myself was a beautiful synthesis of social work, because I went to university and I got a first class honors in social work. So it was concepts of social work from the social work degree. It was concepts of the AA program, but it was also concepts of my spirituality and my meditation. But so too was it a combination of my creativity, because I'm a retired professional dancer, but I'm also an actress and I'm also a presenter. So there was a lot of creativity involved, but I'm also a trained Reiki healer. So what ended up happening is I created this program with all of these different elements, as it were, which enabled me to step into the best version of myself, which enabled me to become the most aligned, the most stronger, the most self-aware, the most confident, the most at peace with myself. And what happened is I developed this program on myself, and I started working on it every day through a series of exercises. And then as I was working in social services, I was working with families, I started sharing the exercises, and they started getting benefit too. And then I thought, well, let me start trying to reach a wider audience, because if I'm getting benefit and the families and social services that I work with, they're getting benefit, let me see if I can try to start reaching a wider audience. And then I started rolling out the well-being exercises, as it were, on social media. And now I'm sort of developing my own client base and spreading this material, which happens to be having amazing and profound effects on people.
Okay, no, excellent. I've seen some of the testimonials that you've recently been posting. That's really cool.
Oh,
Um,
great.
Tell me a bit more about, because you mentioned spirituality or your world.
Mm.
I'm curious.
Mm. Well, the thing is with Self Worx, I'm very clear about, Self Worx is a message for everybody. It's Self Worx isn't a message just for the elite. It's for the educated, for the non-educated, for the rich, the poor, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist, gender fluid, straight, bi, you know,
Yeah.
lesbian, gender fluid. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are, Democratic, Republican, it doesn't matter. If you are a human being that breathes on this planet and knows what it's like to feel joy and to feel pain, then you'll be able to connect with Self Worx. So in terms of answering your question, Nathan, about spirituality, I do talk about spirituality, but I also make the message very broad, because I also understand that there's a lot of agnostics out there and there's a lot of atheists out there.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine, because Self Worx sees you, Self Worx acknowledges you. Even if somebody doesn't believe in God or doesn't believe in a higher power, that's totally fine. I work with my clients to maybe think about something bigger than themselves, or something outside of themselves that they can connect with. It doesn't have to be under the label of God or spirituality.
Mm.
But with that being said, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be alive right now if I didn't have my connection and my trust in my higher power.
Okay.
It is because of my higher power that I'm here right now. Because I mean, it could have gone all horribly wrong, and addiction kills people. And so I'm just so grateful that I'm here, sitting in front of you, talking to you, spreading the message. Self Worx message of hope, healing, and empowerment is just a gift. Every day is a gift. Every moment is a gift. So with that being said, in terms of spirituality, I really I invite people to open themselves up to something that is bigger than themselves. And that doesn't necessarily, they don't have to say it's God or religion. If they can connect with nature, or if they can maybe think about the concept of love, something that's really kind of beautiful and intense. But yes, I really love to work with my clients, and I really invite them to open the door to spirituality and to a higher power. Because once you start opening yourself up to something that is bigger than you, once you start opening up that door, it's kind of like having a friend. If you invite your friend to come in for coffee, they're going to come in, yeah?
Yeah.
You're going to start having a relationship and a friendship with them. It's exactly the same with the divine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The minute you start opening yourself up to divine intervention and to spiritual wisdom, the minute you start opening up and start inviting them in, you will start becoming more aligned with the greater power that is. You will start receiving messages. You will start feeling that you're divinely led. A lot of people say, oh, I'm so lost. You can't be lost, because God and spirituality is everywhere. It surrounds us. This conversation is spiritual. God is everywhere. You can't be lost, because we are surrounded by God and spirituality and love. And I think once people actually start to realize that they are connected with the divine, and that they are here for a purpose, and they are protected, and they are loved, and they are divinely led, then some beautiful things are going to start happening.
Yeah. I feel like, so I've often termed the phrase inspirational writing. Sometimes writing can come from me, sometimes it comes from somewhere else. Some people call it channeling, and I'm open and privy to that. in the past, I've actually practiced channeling back 5 or 6 years ago. So it was called channeling, but this, in a broad sense, may also be considered channeling in a sense in
Mm.
terms of ideas and concepts, even if those ideas aren't necessarily adopting a particular truth, but what they're trying to get people to do is confront those things within them that help them overcome and become stronger. It's
Mm.
sort of like the antithesis to the idea of spiritual bypassing, where rather than deceive ourselves about something, accept that there are things within us that we must combat, and that we must also hug at the same time, and we must not
Mm.
be so judgmental upon ourselves for these, let's say, shadow thoughts.
Mm.
They're intrinsic part of us and part of our journey, and to overcome them, rather than use a sword, we actually need to use a hug. So it's an interesting
Mm.
one. And cutting out things that don't serve us, sometimes that can come with extreme guilt, and that's what I try to express through writing, mostly through my own personal experiences, or in the understanding that the experiences I've been through or write about might not necessarily be directly aligned to mine, but the root of our experiences is attached to some sort of suffering, some sort of codependency, um, or addiction, some lack of self-love, which is interesting because when we talk about addiction, I think the word addiction encompasses so many more things. They could be repeated patterns in life, coping mechanisms that sometimes have a practical good, but we'd get stuck in them. Sometimes they can be wholly destructive. Anything can be when we become overly dependent on it, and that doesn't deal with the symptoms that we're trying to confront. And addictions don't have to be material things either that we do. It doesn't have to be drugs, alcohol, porn, sex, whatever it is, self-flagellation, yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate that you mentioned that. Sometimes our addiction can be an addiction to self-loathing, to an
Mm.
addiction to an external force, something that tells us we can't live without it, and something that tells us we're powerless without its influence. That can be a person, that can be a religion, that can be a social
Mm.
group, that can be
Mm.
friends if the love isn't there, but there's a common trauma bond or experience that we
Mm.
hold together.
Mm, absolutely. I mean, I think the thing is what's interesting about my experience is that the exercises, the well-being exercises that I've developed, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody that's, in active addiction or in recovery. The exercises that I've created is actually anybody can use.
Yeah.
And it's an idea of like wanting to become a better version of yourself. And all of these things outside that we reach out to, these sort of externals, as you were saying, it can be anything. It could be relationships or friends, or it could be porn, or it could be addiction or whatever. But the idea with Self Worx, with the well-being exercises through the affirmations and the breath work and the body work, we start to heal those parts of ourselves that may be hurting. We start to, through the use of the exercises, we start to soothe ourselves, we start to calm ourselves, we start to actually fulfill the little gaps and the little holes and the little places that maybe we haven't looked at through our mindfulness and through our thoughts and through our exercises. And as we start doing them every day on a daily basis, we slowly start to begin to heal ourselves through the process of our own actions of these exercises. And what's so beautiful about it is that the exercises are so simple and they're available to everybody, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how much emotional pain the body can hold as well. And
Mm.
that's a really interesting one. Um, I've seen on occasion sort of these sort of practitioners, I think Ayurvedic medicine or sort of Vedic text or influences around where people believe specific emotions are held, tension, and then it's obviously aligned with physical stress. It's sort of that physical stress seems to be the symptom of something deeper, and I feel like it's something that you're touching on, or something that you sort of work with, breath work and all the other all the other exercises that I've seen so far on your page, quite interesting. Even the dancing and movement, sort of a really interesting way of trying to align ourselves to a higher vibration. That was what I took from it anyway. I don't know if you want to elaborate. Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I think the interesting thing is that, the videos on Self Worx are twofold. So on the one hand, you're seeing videos, which is kind of like not the serious part, but it's the nitty gritty. It is the crux of Self Worx, which is the actual exercises. I work with clients. And so what happens is a client comes to me and I say, okay, what do you want to work on? And I say, give me 2 to 3 points that they may want to work on. So let's say hypothetically, they want to work on maybe anxiety, improving confidence, and mitigating against procrastination, whatever.
Yeah.
So what then I'll do is that I'll go back home and I'll prepare and I'll look through my archives of well-being exercises that actually deals with these specific elements that a client wants to work through. Then when I come to the session, I say, okay, I've cherry picked certain well-being exercises that are specific and particular to your needs. Then I share the exercises with the clients. And then I say, okay, now this is your well-being toolkit, so to speak. And now you go and practice this every day on a daily basis. And it's almost kind of like, when you go to the gym, you've
Yeah.
got your workouts. It's like a well-being workout. So Self Worx, there's one part of that, which is the well-being exercises, which you see on social media. And the second part is, videos that you see about me going about my daily life. So interestingly enough, dancing actually releases a lot of trauma. So Nathan, you were talking about the body storing a lot of trauma and tension, and the body does do that. And what's interesting with dancing, whether you're professional dancing or dancing down the street or dancing in a rave, any kind of dancing, any type of moving of the body will naturally release trauma. And what was so interesting is now that I reflect back, because I'm, an ex-professional dancer, having experienced so much trauma as a child, I kind of see now why I actually picked dance, because it was actually through the professional dance and dancing every day that I was able to release so much of that, so much of my trauma. And I remember once I went to kind of some spiritual teacher and he said, Amanda, if it wasn't for your dancing, you'd be finished.
Okay.
So I think it's an interesting story for people, like wherever you can, wherever you are, just keep on boogieing.
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, and it's such a simple thing. All you need to do, if you're in a bad mood, get your iPhone out, put on your 90s rap. I don't know what it is. Put on your techno. What gets you grooving? What gets you going? What gets your body up and grooving? And blast it for like one song and just really let your head on and just go for it. And you can use that one song, one hit song wonder of just going for that boogie. And I can tell you, after that one dance track of like dancing solidly, you will have shifted into a different space. You will feel better, you will feel happier, you will feel like, more momentum. A great time for just doing a one song boogie. I'm not a morning person, so I actually try to get my one song boogie in before I go to work, and that puts me in the right frame of mind. But you can do it as a study break. Maybe you've had a little argument with your partner. Get your boogie on, and I'm telling you, you will shift into a different space. And Self Worx, that is one smidgen, one of the many ways that you can shift your energy dynamic with yourself.
No, that's really insightful. I totally agree. I was going to add to the list whether singing's included as well, because I always feel great after a bout of karaoke. I mean, even though, I wouldn't want anyone to be in proximity of my vocal skills, but I guess I like to do a bit of dancing as well, a bit of freestyle with a bit of singing too. So
Listen, the thing is that in social work, we have this term where we always talk about like the client's lived experience. This is the term that they've coined, lived experience. So basically, when I work with a client, obviously I'm going to share the well-being exercises, but so too, I speak to a client and I'm like, okay, what shifts you into a better space. So we can talk about doing the boogie. If you were my client, Nathan, I would say to you, okay, so the boogieing is good, but you're telling me that you shift into a really good space with the singing,
Mm.
right? So then I'm going to ask you what type of singing you like doing. Then I'm going to ask you how you can integrate that into your daily life, when you like to sing, what you like to sing, how you like to sing. And so then basically I almost start being the facilitator, where I give you information about Self Worx exercise, but so too are you going to be giving me information that works for you. And then we start structuring a whole well-being program around you in order for you to practice on a daily basis to help you step into the best version of yourself.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds really interesting. So yeah, so really you're just helping that person um get the most out of themselves, or to pull all this out of themselves. The sort of job of a facilitator, trying to get them to see for themselves what it is they contain within inside themselves, and how to take practical steps to get all of it out, to release all of it. You're able to pull out the potential of someone and make them realize that they're their own teacher and they have the medicine to their own ailment.
You've got it. That's exactly it. So everybody is the master of their own destiny,
Yeah.
right? So when I sit down with them, they have all the answers. They are the experts
Yeah.
of their own lived experience. This is
Yeah.
what we say in social work. So when I sit down with them, I say to them, okay, how are you going to get to be where you need to be, and what do you need to do? So they're giving me the information, and then I'm guiding them with the information that they give me.
Yep. Okay. Excellent. No, I love that. I was thinking about it another way in my head, the fact that we like to use sort of words to create silos and boxes, but the reality is that the ability to do this, to raise one's vibration through an action, through a dance, and to confront certain feelings, we as normal people who have no specialist knowledge of the spiritual world, the occult, whatever people like to call it, we in ourselves in a way don't need it, because I think intuitively we practice these things unconsciously sometimes, and I think it's almost like we have the innate ability to transmute emotions and feelings and energy, in the same way that all makes us kind of magicians, practitioners, and witches, and masters to some extent without actually even knowing it. Someone can say the most profound thing in the world to you, and they could be a guy standing at a bus stop drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels. The wisdom is still there, the power's still there, but we're too obsessed with the image and the barriers, knowing that we will have our own barriers to that power at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think we always have to think about what I really love to speak about to my clients about is like, what is life inviting us to learn? So you're talking about somebody at a bus stop, right? And somebody at the bus stop says something very, very profound to you. And you don't know, like, you don't think that it's profound, because I mean, how could this random person? But actually, what I love to speak about with my clients is, if you start viewing everything as an invitation, right? What is life inviting you to learn? What is life inviting you to create? Everything, everywhere is always an invitation. Right now, this podcast that we're doing, what is this experience inviting us to learn? What is this experience inviting us to share? What is the random person at the bus stop? What are they inviting us to learn from the few words that it says to us? And so everything, every single day, everything becomes this incredible invitation that enables us to learn and to grow and to just become these incredible people from these amazing invitations, if all we need to do is just look at it like that. And even in the tough times, say you break up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, or you have an argument, or you have a really bad day at work, what is that inviting you to learn? What is that breakup inviting you to seek within yourself so you can heal and become better at something? What is that bad day at work or that argument with your boss? What is it? What is it inviting you to learn so you can just become a better version altogether of yourself?
I mean, I couldn't have said that better myself, to be honest, in terms of the day. Every second of a day presents you with opportunities, and invites you of opportunities to learn about yourself, about who you are and who you aren't, regardless of the physical or material circumstances. So I think that's an amazing message. Just as we come towards the end, I'd like you to leave a parting message for the audience, something for them to remember you by, and then obviously give out your social media details. But I'd love for you to leave some final thoughts, everyone, to ponder on, in terms of their own personal power and liberation.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the whole crux of what sort of Self Worx is, when I first created this, there's three core elements that really come to mind. And I think what Self Worx actually stands for is hope, healing, and empowerment, right? And I think the message is that, I think all of us have gone through some kind of difficulty or trauma in our own lives. But I think the message that I can leave with today is that if you can take that pain and that suffering or whatever that dark time that you've been through in your life, and you are able to have the strength and the courage and the fortitude to push through that, to push through the darkness, to push through the pain, to push through the suffering, I can categorically tell you there is something so magnificent waiting for you on the other side. And I think the imparting message that I can give you is there is another way, and there is hope, there is healing, there is empowerment. And once you can push through to that other side, there is something so miraculous waiting for you. And as I step into the best version of myself, and as I live #my best life, so too can the followers and the readers of Self Worx also step into their best versions of themselves, and they can also start living their best lives. And so I think the message is if you do the exercises and if you join the movements, there is so much beauty and love and fun to be had.
Okay, fantastic. Okay. All right, just share your social media contacts with everyone. We've got about
Yes. So basically Facebook, it's Self Worx, SELF hyphen WORX. It's the same with Instagram, SELF underscore works WORX. TikTok is Self Worx, and so is YouTube is Self Worx. So please join the movement, come and check it out. We're going to be having a lot of fun.
thanks very much, and thanks everyone for listening. Leave any comments, and take away whatever you've gotten from this. I hope this has uplifted you, and take care, everyone.
Thanks, Philosopher's Poet. Thank you for having Self Worx, Nathan. It's been a
Yeah.
pleasure.
All right. Cheers. Thank you.